Peter and Douglas Ayson. The Ayson clan was an extended family migrant group who came looking for opportunity and found it in Waripa.
The Asin family is a great example of the way many Scots came to Otago in the 1850s. Their founding father is Peter Ayson, born at Glenshee in 1807. He seems to have combined farming with carpentry and established a fairly comfortable living for himself here at Corridon. In 1832, Peter married Douglas Lamont from nearby Bingham Cottage, who was a housekeeper of renown at the centuries-old pub here at the split of Glenshee, which is now unfortunately a ruin after a fire burnt it down a few years ago.
Over the next 20 years, the couple produced 11 children. Sadly, one of these dying in childhood.
Struggling to see a future for this large brood at home, the Aysons were intrigued by what they heard from promoters of the free church settlement scheme in Otago.
A former neighbour, John Shaw of Finnegan, had already gone out there with his sister. He had purchased a land package in the Clutha district, and within months of his arrival in South Otago, the Aysons followed suit, buying a 50-acre section at Waripa.
Getting a family of 10 ready for immigration was an epic challenge, and the party became even bigger when Peter's half-brother, James Ayson, decided to join them. Now, starting from Glenshee here, they took carriages down to Cooper Angus, where they picked up the train all the way down to Edinburgh, and then a paddle steamer on down to London.
They almost missed their ship, the Royal Albert, which was already being towed out from the St Catherine's dock and had to wait half an hour for the Aysons to be unceremoniously bundled aboard, as it was recorded. It was almost as tricky for such a large group at the other end of the long sea voyage. It took 5 hours for the family to come up the Otago harbour in a small boat which beached in the mudflats. And the Aysons and their luggage had to be carried ashore near the present-day site of the Cargill Monument.
Peter Ayson worked briefly as a carpenter in Dunedin, and then he and his eldest son, also called Peter, set off on foot for Waripa, leaving the rest of the family in Dunedin. It was an arduous journey across 100 kilometres of trackless countryside, and on arrival, there was even harder work to be done. A basic 2-room hut was built, a potato crop was planted, and their 50 acres of ground was grub hoed.
7 months later, in November 1853, they returned to Dunedin for the rest of the family. By dray, on foot, and by boat and bullock sledge, the Aysons then made their way slowly to Waripa and Corridon, their new home, named after the old one back in Glenshee. It was a journey that Douglas Ayson would not repeat. For the rest of her long life, she never revisited Dunedin once.
Douglas bore 3 more children in Otago and devoted her life to their care. Apart from her active involvement with the Presbyterian Church, she was almost exclusively a homebody. No wonder with such a large brood and all the challenges of running a household in a newly settled area. She was remembered as a real Scottish matriarch, vigorous of voice and manner, but kindly with it and not without a sense of humour.
One historian described her as a little severe perhaps, but with a severity relieved by the innate gentleness of a kindly heart. Her conservatism was free from intolerance. Those who remembered her at home described a scene of hospitality, cheeriness, and charitableness. In old age, she enjoyed the company of 8 surviving sons and 3 daughters, 75 grandchildren, and 11 great-grandchildren.
Peter and his sons were handy men to have around as well. They built the first church at Waripa, the schoolmaster's house, and a large woolshed at Kaihiku. And gradually their farm was extended to take in 800 freehold acres, an unheard of prospect in their native Perthshire. Other members of the family came out from Scotland to join them. Peter Sr. died at Corridon in 1897 in his 90th year. Douglas survived him by another 8 years, and when she died in 1905, aged 94, Corridon was sold and an era ended.
But the Asin clan had established a strong foothold in Otago, and today there are hundreds and hundreds of descendants. Spread far and wide, they look back proudly to Waripa and their Free Church pioneer forebears who ventured forth from Scotland to find new opportunities on the far side of the globe for those who would come after them.